Now I figured what better way to kick off the new year than to unpack a Nessmuk design that's made right here in the USA that is potentially one of the best values for 2024. And I'm talking about the BECKER BK19. Now let's be real, they're throwing around the name Nessmuk very loosely with this blade profile. I mean, it's kind of an Nessmuk design, sort of. I don't know if K-Bar did this on purpose, but with the release of this model, it makes one of their other tried and true designs somewhat obsolete. And now, having taken it in the high country on a few adventures, as well as a ton of testing back here in the Blade boot camp, I'm looking forward to exploring what the capabilities, if there are any limitations, that the BK19 has, as well as the fact that I gotta call K-Bar out on one of the details in this design, and whether or not it can hold its own against the SE4 HM. So thanks for hanging with me today, guys. I'm Aaron, this is Gideonstactical. Let's go ahead and dive on in. Now I want to begin with who I feel like this knife is ideally set up for, with a 4 1/4 inch blade length, a full flat grind on a wide, broad, air quotes, Nessmuk blade shape, full tank construction that is 0.165 or 5/32 of an inch thick, and gonna weigh right around 6 ounces for the blade and about 9.5 total with the sheath. It's ideally set up for the person that's counting every ounce and likes to go on either day hikes or multi-day backpacking trips, and they don't want a Scandi ground bushcraft knife like a Mora. I don't know who likes Moras of this color combination. Hey, it's very high vis. Leave a comment below if you would rock this donut. But it's either for just like a standalone blade, and that's what you feel like you need, and you want like you like the full flat grind, you just don't want a Scandi, or you want to pair with, say, like a massive BK9 chopper, or run in tandem with your axe. So it is designed for a life in the outdoors, but if it's going to live outdoors, it's also got to be durable, particularly if you're going to spring for the extra cost and weight that, say, a lightweight Scandi like a Mora would offer. Well, the tip durability was the first thing I wanted to see, and I was very pleased that it passed our 2x4 5-strike test. A lot of full flat grinds can kind of be easy to snap. This one, I wouldn't use it as a pry bar, obviously, but it held up well to all of that. And then any type of breaking down of kindling that you may need to do, it's obviously not going to be cracking open huge logs at only 4 inches, but going through stuff about the diameter of your wrist, it should easily be able to handle that, and it passed without any sort of issue, and easily broke down pieces of wood to even be able to shape into, say, like a tent peg that maybe you miscounted. That's happened to me a few times. You have to fashion one for yourself, or you're wanting to practice bushcraft and do triggers and traps. And that's really, this knife reminded me of how capable a full flat grind is in outdoor adventures. I mean, it is so easy to engage with the wood, to bite in, and then get the feather sticks that you would want to help you get a fire going. Very easy to do that. It won't have a 90-degree spine. You will have to hit it up against a grinder if you did want that. It would be nice to see, but by no means is it the end of the world in this design. If you are somebody that does look at this more as a utility knife, it was rather capable in a lot of those areas as well, being able to go through rubber, going through other man-made materials like zip ties without effort in getting right through those, and going through hemp rope with not much sawing needed, particularly because of the sweep of the belly. And for those of you who are backcountry chefs who like going on overlanding or car camping with the family, and you like having kind of one tool to be able to do your food prep as well, this would be an excellent kitchen knife around the campsite because of the blade shape and the grind chosen. Now, in just a moment, I got to call K-Bar to the mat on one aspect of the design, but before we do, I want to thank one of our regular partners here at the channel and today's sponsor, which is Zoleo and their satellite communicators. Now, over the years, I've been so blessed to be able to explore some of the most beautiful but rugged and isolated terrain North America has to offer. And over the last few years, my Zoleo has proved to be an essential piece of kit, giving my wife and I the confidence to be able to communicate back and forth, that she can alert me to maybe scenarios and situations back at home that need to be either addressed, possibly cutting my trip short, or just to be aware of. And then because it's going over the Iridium satellite network and that reliability, she knows I'm able to communicate with her, let her know where I'm at. She can track me through the app, and ultimately, if there is an emergency situation, I can hit the SOS button and immediately start communicating with first responders and get medical attention for myself or people in my party. Now, anytime I partner with a company that I regularly use and trust in my own outdoor adventures and exploration and just daily living, like Zolio, I asked them to help you, the viewers, out. And I've been able to score an exclusive promo code, which will waive the $40 activation fee that is usually attached to a Zolio device when you pick one up and start, using it. You have to usually pay for that, and I've been able to get that waived. So I will have a link in the description box below over to the Zolio site so you can explore all the different capabilities and aspects of this satellite communicator, as well as that exclusive promo code. So hop on over, check them out, and give yourself the ability to communicate with your loved ones as well as first responders the next time you go out on your adventures. Now, how about this handle and all the highs and all the lows and the issue I have that K-Bar needs to remedy, in my opinion? My humble opinion here. Okay, so on the handle itself, we have the exact same layout dimensions that you're going to get across the tweener line. So you know what you're getting on one model versus another, which is excellent. And what I love is that you got plenty of real estate out the back there. You got a nice flat pommel to be able to pommel with, lanyard hole, no hot spots, very ergonomic. They've contoured it really well. There's some valleys, highs and lows, all rounded. That's excellent. So it fills out the hand very nicely and doesn't have a choil like the SE4. A lot of you guys ask me, like, what about the SE4? I'm not a fan of the SE4 because the handle is short, clunky and square, and has a choil on a knife about this size. I think that's just redundant and not necessary. So, and I'm not talking about the 4HM. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But so all those aspects are good. It does have a pretty narrow neck, so sometimes the handle, my index finger will tend to float a little bit. Not quite as much on this model because of the broadness and kind of the rising of the blade. So my issue is in the scales themselves. This is the material that K-Bar's been using probably for 2 decades now on all their BECKERs. It's impervious to like moisture, food particles, blood, guts, all that stuff, and it's very durable, but it's really slick and feels like you're holding onto a Nalgene bottle. It just doesn't feel like I'm just gonna say it, a quality tool. It feels like you're holding on to kind of like a plastic tool. And for the guy who's going to be using this as their dedicated belt knife for the next 5 to 10 years, I guarantee you is going to want to upgrade to micarta. Now, thankfully, they offer aftermarket micarta. In the past, they've only had these khaki, which would be like really weird looking with my Smoky Mountain Knife exclusive black. Now, thankfully, they just started offering black micarta as well on the K-Bar site. For, again, both of those are going to go for like $35 to $40, depending on where you pick them up, which then adds to cost, because on its own out the gate, I paid $88 for this at Smoky Mountain Knife Works. So I'll have links in the description box below over to Smoky Mountain Knife Works as well as other distributors. If you are interested in this model or some of the competitive options, as well as scales, those will all be in the links below. But what that means is this now takes this knife from being $90, let's say, to like $125. And now it's a lot more expensive, and definitely on par or even more expensive than an SE 4 or 4HM. So I would love K-Bar to like split the difference. I know it takes more time to fashion micarta than to just pour a mold of plastic, but if they just bumped up, say, $15 the cost overall for these models and just ship them with micarta, matching depending on the coating that you get, and then just, if they got these scales laying around, throw those in there for those few guys, and leave a comment below if you actually like these polymer scales, for those few guys who actually do that. And I feel like that would really take it up a notch with these designs and still be excellent value, even if it was, say, an extra $15 a knife to get the micarta as is, just ready to rock and roll. Because very few people that I'm aware of just rock the stock scales. They end up having to take time, effort, and extra cost to put those scales on there. That's my opinion, that's my mileage. I look forward to seeing your guys' thoughts on the handle aspect of the tweener series, and what do you think about seeing them shipped with micarta in 2024. Now, as soon as I saw that they released this model, I thought to myself, like probably many of you, well, that makes the BECKER BK16 basically obsolete, because it has the same type of grind, full flat, a little bit different blade shape, but all the other dimensions are exactly the same, coming in ballpark around the same cost, but it's gonna have, bam, the polymer sheath. That is a massive upgrade over the stock nylon that, as of right now, is being shipped with the BECKER BK16. So I don't know if they're phasing out the 16. If they're not, I would love to see them upgrade to this polymer, because this thing snaps the blade into place. It's got excellent retention, great thumb ramp right there to just boom, pull off, deploy. It's got an ambidextrous webbed backer, so you can unscrew it, swap it. Got a button snap, huge nylon loop there. It could ride perfectly on your belt. Great ride for belt carry. It's excellent, and makes the overall package of the BK19 a cheaper investment, even if you do the micarta, than if you have to do a 16. And I have a whole video on how I tricked out a 16 with a custom Kydex, micarta. I stripped the coating, patinaed it, all that. I'll have a link in the description below. If you do want to do that with this, you could patina and micarta this guy and strip the coating. Not a big deal. So, but you have to do all that and invest even more currently to get some sort of custom leather or Kydex over the nylon that is still being shipped with the 16. Now, before we get to the SE, let's look at the BK18 here real quick. You will see that it's slightly longer by probably about 1/4 of an inch. Has very similar continuous sweep. This is going to have a high saber grind versus the full flat, about the same thickness, and it's going to have that harpoon shape clip. So it's definitely, or swedge, it's definitely more of like an aggressive, piercing, focused blade, a little bit more robust, you could argue, but won't be quite as good a slicer, better for a battle belt or LBE system, and less suited for the high country compared to the now BK19. Now the SE4HM will come with either a Kydex sheath, I added this nylon backer, or a leather sheath. So there are more options with the SE than what you're going to get stock on the K-Bar. Both have a version of 1095, so very similar, edge retention, toughness, durability, all that, and lack of rust resistance. This is going to come shipped with the micarta, obviously. Hopefully that changes in 2024 for this guy. And you are going to get like a sweeping motion into the edge, basically. And what I found ergonomically is that they're very similar, like in diameter of thickness around the necks and stuff, but the BK19 has this dedicated guard which actually forces your finger back into place and fully engages the scale. The 4HM doesn't really do that. You're right up against the edge, there's no guard, so you're not as in control if you were to have to do stabbing, and you're actually kind of like half gripping that scale a little bit, and it means that you have potentially more control over the blade, but you aren't able to be as aggressive with the blade. So just depending on how you like to hold your knives will determine some of that. You're going to get a more continuous sweep on the K-Bar, a more straight edge into a more abrupt sweep on the SE. Then the final thing, for performance sake, something to definitely consider, the SE is 0.19 on the stock thickness, full flat. The K-Bar, again, is 0.165, so it is going to be thinner with a slightly higher grind overall, meaning that the K-Bar will be the better slicing instrument for actual slicing through material. So that is something to weigh and consider. Obviously, the SE and the K-Bar currently, you know, their ballpark are within $10, $15 of each other. And the SE, of course, does come with that excellent lifetime warranty. Well, guys, it's been a blast unpacking the BK19 with you today. And compared to the other blades we've been discussing, it's an easy choice for me. I'm going to upgrade the micarta. I mean, eventually, I hope that they just start shipping them that way. Please, K-Bar. But I'm gonna spend the extra money. I'm gonna slap on those micarta scales, and compared to the other blades we've discussed today, this would be the first choice for me when I go hiking and backpacking of the models that we've discussed, being a great value for an American-made blade and getting a lot of capability in this compact belt knife size. But I want to hear from you guys. What's your thought compared to these other models that we've been discussing today, and particularly the BK19? How has it been performing for you if you own one already? So look forward to hearing all the comments. Thanks for hanging with me today, guys. I invite you to subscribe again if you haven't yet. Check out the other video popping up, and until next time, always remember, stay equipped, stay prepared, and I'll see you out there.